Israel wants to execute Palestinians and the world will allow it. A bill legalizing the execution of Palestinians is being pushed through the Knesset. International indifference paved the way for it. The Israeli Knesset is pushing through a bill that, if passed, would allow the occupation authorities to legally execute Palestinians. This development has attracted hardly any international attention, but for Palestinians, it is yet another looming horror. The bill is part of the deal that allowed the formation of Benjamin Netanyahu's coalition government in late 2022. It was demanded by Itamar Ben-Gvir, now National Security Minister, who has led a reign of terror across the West Bank for the past 3 years. In November, the bill passed its first reading, and in January, its provisions were revealed: execution carried out within 90 days of sentencing, no appeals, and death by hanging. Palestinians charged with planning attacks or killing Israelis would face the death penalty. Ben-Gvir has repeatedly called for the execution of Palestinians, most recently during his visit to Ofer Prison, where he filmed himself overseeing the abuse of detainees. That we got to this point is hardly surprising. For decades, the international community has neglected the fate of Palestinian prisoners. In the past 2.5 years, there has been almost no global reaction to the mass brutalisation of Palestinians held in Israeli jails with or without charges. Israeli efforts to legalize executions of Palestinians is the logical next step in eliminating the Palestinian question. The use of the term prisoners to refer to Palestinians held by Israel is deceptive. It strips this cruelty of its context: the military occupation and colonization Palestinians live under. Prisoners of war or captives are much more accurate terms. That is because Palestinians are taken away either for resisting the occupation or for no reason at all, for the sake of terrorizing their families and communities. Currently, more than a third of the Palestinians Israel is holding are under administrative detention, i.e., they are being held without charge, and some are women and children. Palestinians are also tried in military courts, which are blatantly biased against the occupied population. I, myself, was a victim of this system of oppression through unjust detention. In November 2015, Israeli soldiers burst into my home in Ramallah and took me away. They tortured and isolated me for weeks without even telling me what I was accused of. Eventually, they came up with an accusation of incitement, for which they did not produce any evidence. They kept me under their administrative detention, or what is really an arbitrary arrest. The abuse continued, and during one interrogation session, an Israeli officer threatened me with rape. They treated me like an animal without rights or legal protection. Representatives from the International Committee of the Red Cross were prevented from visiting me. I was released only after I went on a hunger strike for 3 months and my condition deteriorated to a dangerous level. This happened to me 10 years ago, long before October 7, 2023. Back then, the international community was turning a blind eye to Israel's violations of international law through administrative detention and abuse. After October 7, the conditions in Israeli military prisons worsened, with rampant torture, starvation, and medical neglect. At least 88 Palestinians have been killed in Israeli detention since then. The international community has remained silent, issuing an occasional weak condemnation. Israel's brutal mistreatment of detained Palestinians is in direct violation of the Geneva Conventions, which it is a party to. By virtue of being under occupation, Palestinians are considered a protected population and have rights which the Israeli authorities have systematically denied. Nevertheless, the international community has accepted these flagrant violations. Under the guise of anti-terrorism, the international discourse has transformed Palestinians from unoccupied people to threats to Israeli and international security. Not even the shocking images and testimonies of mass rape at Israeli detention centers managed to overturn this flawed framing. In this context, the death penalty bill is not an extremist proposal. It fits right into the pattern of the brutalization of Palestinian detainees. From the perspective of the Palestinians, this bill is yet another tool of Israeli revenge. If passed, it would SPU have reached the end of our in-depth report. For more deep dives into global affairs and breaking news updates, please subscribe to Neuron News Global and enable all notifications. Stay informed, stay ahead. See you in the next broadcast.